and welcome to a dark and stormy night for another writing video. It's thunderstorming outside, so if you hear any big, awesome booming noises, that's why. So today we're going to talk about writing characters. I love to write good characters, I love to read good characters. Characters make the story for me. I will forgive just about anything in your book if I like the characters. That's how deep my love for characters goes. But how do you write them and make them interesting? How do you keep them from being stock and boring and samey and cliched? Well, my friends, let's talk about it, because I got some tips for ya. As always, I like to give a little disclaimer. Remember that the way I write is not the way that everyone writes. So as you listen to these tips, if you find something that you know just won't work for you, that's fine. These are just my personal tips in the way that I write characters. So let's talk about your character, the whole and complete person. Now, I'm not just talking about the main character. I'm talking about every character that gets more than a few lines. You don't need to come up with all these details for, say, the bartender that hands them their drinks, but you do need to come up with all of these details for every character that's important to your story. Especially the main character, their love interest if there is one, and any other friends in their group, and your villain and any of your villain's lackeys or friends. Super important. Don't neglect the villain. The biggest thing is that you need to know more about these characters than will ever be in the stories. These characters need to be your imaginary friends, and you gotta know some deets, okay? What do they look like? More than you described in your story. We'll talk about describing characters in a later video. Where they grew up. Who are their parents? Brothers or sisters? Preferably not dead parents, but if you gotta do that, okay. Who are their childhood friends? What are their strongest likes and dislikes in life? What is their sexual orientation? What is their favorite pie? All kinds of details like this. I know that there are websites where you can fill out a bunch of details about a character. I don't usually use those, but there are a lot of important details that you should know about your character. I tend to like to give my characters hobbies that you may or may not see them partaking in the story. The more you know about your characters, even if it doesn't come up in the story, the more they will be whole people in your head, which will help them be whole people on the page. Remember that every character has goals. It is super important. They have dreams, they have ambitions, they have goals. And every character must have them. Have you ever met a human being who just had no goals? None? I mean, even if their goal is as simple as get my paycheck and go home to play video games, that is a goal. But also, something that I especially learned in live theater is that every character should have a goal within a scene, and something that they want from the other characters in that scene. It can be ridiculously small. Character A wants character B to talk to them. Character A wants character B to look in their direction. Character A wants character B to go away and die. You have to know in every scene what the characters want from each other and what they want in general. You should know what your characters sound like. What do their voices sound like? Do they have accents? How do they speak? It's important to be able to imagine them in your head as you're writing them, talking in the way that they would talk. If all your characters just sound the same in your head, maybe you need to get to know them a little bit better. Remember, knowing where they come from will help you in deciding what they sound like. If they grew up poor, they're definitely going to sound different from your other character who was wealthy. If they grew up on the bad side of town or the good side of town, if they grew up on a farm, everybody's going to sound different, have a different vocabulary and potentially accent. Now this is super important because it has come to my attention that some authors hate certain characters that they have written. And I don't know how you could ever do that. I love all my characters. And I encourage you to love all of your characters too. Even the bad guy. You have to be able to see in your author brain what makes the bad guy do what he does. You have to be able to take some part of you and understand your villain, even if he's despicable and you would never act the way he does. You have to know why. Understanding why your characters do anything is super important. And you can't allow yourself to hate any of them because the reader will often be able to tell when you hate a character, and it's not fair to your reader. They should be able to decide how they feel about the characters themselves. And of course, remember that every character is the hero of their own story, even the villain. Every character thinks that their life and adventure is the most important because they're humans, or at least have human-like qualities, because really, even if you're writing aliens, there are definitely aspects of humanity in them. And in every character's head, they are the ones having the adventure. Even the villain, even the sidekick. So don't discount a character as just the sidekick or just the villain. They're having an adventure too, it's just not the one that you're focusing on. One thing that a lot of us authors do is people watch, and I highly encourage it, of course, naturally. Wherever you go, just be very observant. Observe the way that people move and how they interact. I watch people like to find out how other people buy groceries. That's how intensely I'm people watching all the time. I want to know, do I pick up the loaf of bread this way? Does everyone pick up the loaf of bread this way? I am super always on, always observing the people around me, because later these little things can be used to make characters seem more real. Don't be afraid to start your observation off easy with observing, say, your friends, and grow to come to observe everything that you possibly can in your life. Good authors are like sponges. They are constantly absorbing the world around them for later use in books. Like, I'm constantly absorbing how Jane really wants to be on my lap right now and doesn't like it that my notebook is there. And actually, I have a cat character in my upcoming book, which is based off of Puss in Boots, and that cat character is based a lot on Jane and his behavior. And of course, the big one, don't be afraid to give your character flaws. In fact, fucking give your character flaws. Every character should have at least one flaw that your reader gets to see, and potentially a lot more. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, human beings have flaws. And your character might do stuff that even annoys you as the writer. You're like, why do you do these things? But it makes them a more whole and well-rounded character. I would much rather read about a character who has flaws than one who is perfect and good at everything. And try to avoid the old cliche of making their only flaw be that they're clumsy or afraid of heights. Those are so overdone. Just find some other flaws. Come on, guys, they exist. They really do. Some people find it helpful to create a Pinterest board or a playlist for certain characters. I don't really do this myself, but if that helps you get into their character a little bit more, by all means definitely try out some of that. Remember, it may seem challenging, but writing complex and interesting characters is really not all that hard. You just have to love every one of them and want to know as much as possible about them. I'll try to find one of those sites that lets you fill out all this character stuff and link it below. If I forget, just remind me, in case that's helpful to all of you. Otherwise, I also encourage the keeping of a notebook in case you think of something about a character that you can't utilize right away in your writing. And if you're a plotter and not a pantser like me, you can definitely write out whole great swatches of stuff about your character before you start your story. The more you know, the better your character is going to be. So that was my thought on writing compelling characters. I will be doing another video soon about how to describe your characters physically, like when characters meet each other, what do they look like? And that'll be coming out eventually, I'm sure. And in the meantime, if you found this video to be helpful, if you genuinely enjoyed it, then please share it with your friends. Share it with your writer friends. Just drop that link down on your Tumblr or your Facebook or your Twitter or, you know, places where people put links. Jane and I will see you next time for the next writer vlog about characters. And bye, Jane. Bye, Jane.
Oh man, I almost forgot. You know, I always like to share at the end of these writing vlogs how my own writing is going. And it's going really well. As you guys know, I'm working on my Puss in Boots retelling called Boots. What you're seeing right now is a cover mock-up. It's not going to be the final cover. I just wanted to draw it to get myself motivated and reward myself for finishing the first section of the book. Right now it's planned to be in 4 sections. And I'm already to the second one, partway through the second one. So I'm already making really great progress on the book. I'm super excited to finish it and share it with everyone. Obviously, eventually I will need beta readers, so, you know, if you're interested, put your hands in the air and wave them like you care a lot about my writing. Anyway, I hope all of you are having a fantastic writing time, and I will see you all again next time.